wait a minute. I'm all wet there.
Yeah.
Willie Jones. I heard that Willie Jones play that Texas blues, but I heard Boogie Woogie. I'm 8 years. I'm 66. Take 8 off of 56. Leaves 58, huh? 58 years ago.
Yeah.
Negro boy by the name of Leroy Watkins came out west. His mother was here, but his mother had since married. Man by the name of Crouch. And I was 8 years old, and my mother and uncles, and all what few Negro people was in Oakland in them days, you could name them almost, the families on 2 hands. We come to my grandmother's house, because we was considered rich in them days because we had a piano. We had an old Stedman, it wasn't old, it was modern in them days, the 4-legged piano. That's what I learned on it. To hear this fella play the ragtime, see? He was the first ragtime player that we ever heard, see? And he... Get this hand here, see? There's no fancy doings in there, see? Willard, see? Then the first time I heard this was Willard played it. First time I heard this. '96, right after the earthquake. Willard played. Newport blues. Willard. Then some of the old numbers.
Sid, I suppose Shimmer Shawabble was a great dance tune.
Oh, used to do teamwork.
What do you call that?
They used to do what they call a team song.
I see.
All the entertainers would, led by Mitchell, Willie Strutt Mitchell, out in front with his little cane, and all entertainers and the rest of them in the background, and all done steps. As I told you once before, you had to sing and you had to dance, see? And they would go through these. Oh, we'd play anyway from whenever he'd stick up the cane, cut, that's the last chorus, and they'd do as high as 10 different choruses, see? And on the steam.
And was the dancing more or less improvised, and Willie was the leader, and they'd follow him, whatever whim he had?
Yeah. Some steps too, what I'm telling you, see? And here's another thing you don't hear no more.
That's all right. Hold on 1 second, Sid. Just 1 second. Okay. We'll knock out the piano that just preceded and pick up from here.
Wait a minute now. Hold it for a minute.
Yeah.
I want to give you a demonstration of what they used to dance years ago, what they call stop time. You don't hear hardly anymore. See, that's all. You got the steps in them days. See, you play. See the point of it? You could hear the steps clean. Now, as a general rule, the band plays straight through, and they use cleats and chunks of iron and everything else on it. These boys that I'm telling you about danced with the shoes on like you got, and you heard them steps. I think the greatest soft shoe dancer I've never seen nobody off the stage to equal him, and he should have been on the stage. And it's the funny thing about him, he was a little Negro fella, smaller than I am, a little bit of skinny fella. He'd been a jockey. My mother knew him very well. And in fact, he knew my mother when I was a baby, see? And then I come along as a young man, he was up there, see? I think they tell me old folks was close on to 80 when he died. He only had one eye. Horse kicked him in the eye. See? And he was a soft shoe dancer. And he stood on the door out in front. In the old days, I've forgot to tell you about that. When the fading of the Barbary Coast, he stood on the door after they stopped the dancing. And of course it was always cut and dried that when the cops would come, why he'd come in and wave twice like that, stop the music. The waiters would go tell the patrons to go sit down, take it easy, everything will be all right in a few minutes. Then when these people like Gunst and Chinatown guys would come in, they'd bring old folks in and dance. That's one of the tunes we played for him. Soft shoe dancing. And you've seen, I've seen it in Kate Smith's show, I've seen it in Winchell, and these...
Excuse me, Sid, I think you mean Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan. You see that they're doing a dance now with skating, imitate. I seen that years ago. He done it soft shoe. All them taps hardly get. And that's what I call real dancing, see? Soft shoe dancing. You ask somebody today to do some real soft shoe dancing and see what. I will admit today there's some marvelous dancers. They got some marvelous steps. But I seen them steps, see? And but as I say, they didn't have the help of the taps on the shoes, see, to bring out the steps, see? Like our great Negro dancer, Will Robinson, Bojangles as we call him, when he danced in New York, and they danced upstairs on the stage, and that's where he got the name as being the world's greatest dancer, see? We had another little boy here, Negro boy. He was as straight up and down as he was wide, that he was about this big. I don't know, never did know what that boy's name. We all call him Rastus, see? And he'd been around, come from the Emeryville racetrack, when the horse racing days. And he was a marvelous buck and wing dancer. He got arrested for fighting in Oakland. He actually danced his way. If I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure, I wouldn't say for sure, but I'm almost sure it was Judge Samuel's court in Oakland. He was a Jewish judge. And in them days, Oakland only had one or two judges. That is for the city, and the rest was naturally called the county superior court judge. And he asked him what he'd done, and he said he danced for a living. And the judge asked him to dance. And they said if it was pretty good, he'd let him go. And he danced in that court, and the judge waved him right on out the door, and right out the door he went, see? And too bad, he got victim of dope later on, see? And that's pitiful. I knew a girl, a very beautiful Irish girl. Oh, she was really pretty. Born and raised in San Jose. And it was pitiful then, but it's not pitiful now. The last time I saw her brother, in 1930, she worked in the sporting house where I played at, and she was really beautiful, the black-haired Irish, see. And after I left there and went to Purcell's, why, I run into her one evening in Caligaris' drugstore, that drugstore I tell you on the corner of Kearney and Pacific. And the minute I looked at her, geez, I seen the eyes was leaping. See, she was full of dope. And I says to, won't call no names, where did you, how did you get here? She says to me, she knew I knew her brother, see? She said, whatever you do, don't tell my brother. I said, that's just what I'm going to do. She said, if you do, I'll choke you. I said, no, you ain't going to choke me. But I was a pretty good guy in them days, pretty husky. See, small but pretty husky. I said, well, how did you get into this, Vivian? She said, Al. See? Al was the fiend, see? Well, I went to the police department, and they picked her up. And then they sent her to the farm, see? Just them relating to you how they can be some good out of it, see? She come out of there. I met her on the street once in down by the Emporium, see? And how she thanked me and how she went on, see? She knew that between her and her brother, that she married a lumberman from, this is how I got from her brother later on, Santa Barbara, and the mother of 4 fine kids, see? And there you are, see? She got away from it and stayed away from it, see? But there's been so many, when it once gets a hold of them, it's kind of tough to get rid of it. This boy, Rastus, as I say, the last time I heard him, he was up around Spokane someplace. See? And, oh, speaking of Spokane, there's another thing I want to bring up. Just, you see, you get to talking, you think about a very fine piano player up there called Pork Chops. And let me think now. What are Pork Chops' numbers? What he used to play.
Where did you say this was, Sid?
Spokane. See, he was.
Excuse me, Sid. Would you repeat this up in Spokane so I can cut my own voice out?
Up in Spokane. See? He played everything very slow. First time I ever heard that.
We start again right from the very beginning, and you play the 2 choruses the way you are.
one piece he used to play. A fine piano player.
You remember the name of it, or did you have
No,
one?
no, I can just remember parts of all that. That's what in fact, he sat down, took time out, and showed me part of it. But he was a great fellow for playing a very long and distinctive bass. And the first time I ever heard the backlick in the bass, you see, you've heard it this way, but see, that's what I was telling you a while back. There's a lot of this stuff they use today, it goes back. There's a history to it. And you come on down to Boogie Wiggle.
Hear Boogie Woogie on the Barbary Coast? You recall?
Well, boy, Willard Jones. That's the first place I heard it. Then this boy Oklahoma Red, he played it, and there wasn't very many piano players that played that stuff. Mostly blues and rags. As you know, a very popular tune in them days was The Preacher and the Bear. You heard that, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Do you...
If I start singing, everybody will go out of here.
That's a shame. It'd be cute to have a couple of vocal verses on that.
That is.
I think we can continue. Are you going to stop it, Hal, or not? Fine. You said you were going to say something without piano because we have to make a splice here.
I see.
What were you going to say?
You,
or would you like to tell the pockets and the canvas pocket story?
They
got that.
You know that out of them 20 years I played over there, 14 years it was all night. And mostly all silver in them days, you know, very little paper. And just about every month to 6 weeks, my wife would have to ordinary pockets in the pants wouldn't last no time at all. It'd just wear right out, see? So she'd take the lightweight canvas and sew in the pockets, because I used to keep the left hand going. It's quite a trick. The piano was right up against the wall, like here. This is the back of the building, up against the wall. This is after Purcell's moved off to Pacific Street. It's still known as Purcell's. We moved over on Jackson Street, just west of Kearney. And there was glass mirrors all around the place, all around like that. And they'd throw money up there, and I'd just keep this left hand going and grab the halves and dollars with this, and somebody would throw $1 and say, give me a half change. I just keep going and reach in my pocket. Well, you know, it's only a matter of time. You wear out the pockets, see? And I just kept up busy sewing pockets in there, because imagine in them days, my salary was $25 a week playing the piano. The men in the band got $35 because they cut out at 1 o'clock, and I played all night with the piano. And I averaged $465.33 a month over a period of 20 years. See?
Excuse me, would you say again, over a period of 20 years?
Over a period of 20 years. See? And that's good money in them days. And that's all included, the $75. That's the most I ever made in one night. And on that one song, see, just singing it over, playing it over and over again for the singer. Vincent Rose was the guest who was dishing out all the money.
Well, good. That covers that part. Would you like to go into the Jelly Roll Morton story once again about the crave, you know?
I am.
And, wait a second. Hal, would you... we'll stop the machine a second, Hal.
Oakland.
Would you say it again?
I was born and raised in Oakland, California, which is the part which is called Watts Track.
What does that mean, Watts Track?
Well, that's just a track that a man by the name of Watts settled in the early days. It's in North Oakland. And I went to school at the Clawson School in Oakland. And grandparents raised me. And after that, grandparents died when I was 17 years old. And I went out for my own and started over in Judson Ironworks, because my grandmother before me had been one of the first Negro woman that sang on the stage in the state of California. In the days when the Spaniards didn't applaud, they took out 6-shooters and shot in the air for all mostly open-air theaters. And she had silverware, several sets of silverware that she got in them days for singing. And it was known then later on as my uncles and aunts grew up, they had what they call the Marsden family. They sang at Sage Horn's Hall in Oakland. I think the building is still standing. And she passed away. I went on to, as I say, in the rolling mill. And that's after the duck shooting escapade and ground squirrels. And I met a boy who was a pretty good piano player, and he says to me, after my grandmother died, I was living with some people on 40th Street in Oakland. He said, a fella down at the corner wants me to play. I was in there, got a piano in there, and he wants me to play. And he said, you know, my mother wouldn't let me play. He said, why don't you go down and see him? Two fellas by the name of Martin McDonald, 40th and San Pablo. And I started playing there, and I played for them from 7 o'clock till 10 at night. Had to quit at 10 because down at Emery, there was an Emeryville, 40th and San Pablo. the racetrack was there, and jockeys all lived, and exercising boys lived upstairs, and they had to get up early in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, to exercise the horses, so naturally you couldn't play music late. Then I went down the country with them, down to a little town called Purissimo, down on the San Mateo coast, and went down there. They took me along. Never heard a ragtime piano player down there, and I made a hatful of money down there playing. They brought the farmers from all around. They come back, and they went up to Angel's Camp playing.
About how old were you at this time?
I was
still in your teens?
That was 1904. See? I was born in 86. And I played up at Angel's Camp when it was so cold. The place where I stayed at, I got up and took the woman's rugs and put them on the bed. 7 inches of snow when I got up there. I come back here, and then I got a job playing in Salinas. And I was in Salinas, 1906 earthquake. And I was right out in the main street in Salinas with the night clothes on. And right after that, then I come up, after the earthquake is over, I come up to San Francisco, Oakland, and then over to San Francisco. And I got a little job first playing in Oakland, sporting house. And then I went, as I told you before, over playing at Purcell's in the afternoon. And then you have the story about how I got the job, see?
Sid, did you have any formal teachers when you were first playing piano, or did you pick it all up by yourself?
I learned, like all youngsters do, my scales. I had a German music teacher, and I used to kind of revolt against her when she was a girl about 18 or 20 years old. I can't remember just how old Marva was, but she was just a young woman. She's one of the grandest players I ever heard. She played all the Liszt Hungarian Rhapsodies, and there's 32 pages in number 2 alone. She played the whole 14 of them from memory, see? And her great criticism was to learn to play everything by memory. She said, you're just like a machine when you have to be set there with the music in front of you all the time. And